All right, our next reaction for carboxylic acids is going to be esterification. So I'm going to create this new thing that's called an ester that we haven't talked about yet. And how you do this is actually fairly simple, right? Because it actually kind of looks like it looks a little bit like when we made that acetyl, right? So what's going to happen here is I have a carboxylic acid, again, that functional group with a double bond oxygen and a hydroxyl group on the same carbon. And I'm just going to remove a stable product. Again, I'm just going to take a hydrogen from one, the hydroxide from the other, and I'm going to make a water product, right? And same as in that acetyl reaction, I'm just going to end up connecting this branch over here to that oxygen that's left behind on my carboxylate anion. So I'm just going to draw that product the way it was before without the hydrogen, and then I'm just going to add a branch to it. In this case, it's an ethyl group, and then those are my products. Fairly simple. This new functional group that we've just drawn, right, when I have this look here, and I have R groups on either side, there's technically a methyl attached over here and an ethyl attached over there. This is going to be called an ester. But otherwise, we can name esters, and you need to learn how to do this. So there's a couple different things now. Remember, I should have named everything already. This is an acetic acid over here. Again, remember, you can also call it ethanoic acid. I just usually call it acetic acid because it's vinegar, and I'm used to that. But otherwise, I also had an ethyl alcohol here, or I could call it a ethanol, right? Whatever way I want to call it. So I'm just going to say ethanol, I guess, since maybe that's the way you guys would prefer it. But it really doesn't matter. And I'm going to combine those two things to make an ester in my water, but I should be able to name my ester. All you're going to have to do to name an ester is you're going to, again, have a branch here that's attached to my carboxylate anion. So if I understand what that carboxylate anion is called, right, again, since I used acetic acid on the left, I'm probably going to call it an acetate on the right. If I used ethanoic acid on the left, I'd probably use ethanoate on the right. But all I have to do is attach that ethyl group to this. So this is called an ethyl acetate. Right? So that ethyl group is attached to my acetate directly. Right? Those are the two things I circled with blue. And that's my name for this thing. You say that ethyl first, then acetate, but that would be an ester, and that's how you're going to name your esters. So if we did another example, right, we could do a lot of different versions of this. Maybe I have this carboxylic acid. Again, we would call that a benzoic acid. Right? And then I'm just going to have some alcohol. It really doesn't matter, so maybe I'll make it an isopropyl alcohol. Right? But I'm going to react this. Again, I'm going to need a catalyst here. I'm going to actually need an acid catalyst for this to work. But I can attach that isopropyl group to my benzoate that would be left behind. So remember, I'm going to have this. I removed a hydrogen and a hydroxide to make a stable product over here of water. Don't forget your water, because you'll miss a point if you leave that off. But instead of making this have a negative charge, my carboxylate, I just attach an isopropyl group, and that's going to be my ester. Right? So I started out with this benzoic acid and an isopropyl alcohol. Again, actually, you could call that a 2-propanol if you wanted to. And, if you want full points on the test, you probably need to tell me that this first alcohol was primary and the second alcohol was secondary. Because the class does change whether some reactions work or not. You still need to classify those things. But my product over here is an ester, and it's going to be called an isopropyl benzoate. So all esters are named similarly, right? You just have a branch again. Here's my isopropyl. And that isopropyl is attached to something that separately, with a negative charge, would be called that benzoate. So I just call that an isopropyl benzoate. So it should be fairly simple to follow along with, right? Definitely remember your water products, but that's the esterification reaction.